So last weekend we returned to Dallas for our 10th Furry Fiesta, which it's kind of a little bit mind-blowing to realize that we've been going to this convention for a decade now. But it's always been fun, and I've always enjoyed going to it, and it's kind of it's our home con because we can drive to it, so it's pretty much our local guaranteed convention every year that, it's not likely to change as long as the convention continues to be as much fun as it is. But this year the convention was on the tail of a rough couple of days for me, and a long period of just kind of, I guess, struggling with certain things that I will get into at some other time. But for right now, we had our I don't want to say necessarily our usual roommates, because our roommates have fluctuated a little bit in the last couple of years, but we had Atsuki, Richard Renard, and of course Shrag is always with me. And we stayed in the suite this time, which we decided this year was going to be our fortress of solitude. Because, I've discovered it, particularly over the years of going to conventions, that as much as I like hanging with people and seeing everybody, I generally prefer to have a place that I can retreat to when I need a little bit of peace and quiet, and that's generally what our room turns out to be. Now, we had all kind of agreed that that was going to be the case this year, that we generally didn't have too many people come up and visit us, particularly because last year, and I was kind of seeing this coming when I tried to caution against it, but Atsuki had managed a few of our entire cluster of friends' rooms last year, and I knew that was going to be a little bit of a disaster just because managing anything for large groups of people gets complicated. You have to be the bad guy sometimes, and it's a lot of stress for very little pay. Basically it's just why. We're all adults. We're all capable of having each cluster of our group manage one room and then just deal with that. But by managing multiple rooms, unfortunately, the more you take on, the more crises you have to manage, and it just gets in the way of your ability to have fun, which is one of the reasons why I have never wanted to manage more than the room in which I have been staying. Usually it's just kind of like I reserve the room, or whoever, in the case of cons where I'm the room captain, I reserve the room. I fill up the 2 or 3 spots sometimes, as the case may be, for no more than 5 people, and then that's it. I want to see everybody. I want everybody else to be there, have a room, have a good time, but I don't have the patience to manage more than the room that I'm in. And that being said, Atsuki kind of came to realize this the hard way, and apparently other people have as well since then. But long story short, just reserve your room, pick your roommates, and generally, have a stable set of roommates if you can, and then just kind of let the rest fall into place, because otherwise it just gets to be complicated. But in any case, the registration was smooth. TFF, we really just kind of went in, had our form ready, we were able to register, and I think we were out of there in about 5 minutes. This year's suits, I had brought Anna, Light, Lauren, and Kate by request. I had been going back and forth on which suits to bring this year because I kind of have I have a couple of preferences that I usually lean towards. And last FurFest I had brought Topaz and Lexi, and of course I usually end up defaulting to Lexi just because her sneakers are really comfortable. Now this particular convention I had left Lexi home, but I did bring her sneakers because they're more comfortable than my regular sneakers, which eventually I'm probably gonna have to replace. I kind of wish that now I could find another pair of the ones Lexi has, because they're super comfortable. But I've decided that Lexi's thing is always wearing purple sneakers, so if I can't find those exact ones, I'll just grab a pair of purple sneakers. As long as I have purple sneakers, Lexi will be good. But you decided I was going to bring Light Lauren, and Anna hadn't been to a convention in a while. I think Topaz, Lexi, and Kate had taken most of the rest of the slots, so Anna was due. So I brought her with me, and let's see, I think I was pretty much debating which suits to take right up until the con. But finally, when I had to make a decision, I was like, okay, I'm gonna bring Lauren. Sometimes I've left Lauren behind, uh, but generally speaking, especially these days, because Lauren really in effect is me, it's kind of hard for me to go to a con without her in some fashion, some form or fashion. Partial fursuit or the light version. I usually like to have her there. I guess she's like a security blanket for me in some ways, but she's my persona, so it's kind of hard to turn her down, especially when she's the light version takes so little space to transport. And because I had a little bit of unexpected room this trip, because I think two of my suits were pretty light, and Anna doesn't take up that much space because she doesn't really have a lot of padding. I brought what, at the moment anyway, is kind of nicknamed Pup. I haven't actually given it a name yet, because it was sort of a little bit of not really a plan, but it's a hood and pieces I had commissioned from Rubber Dog. I had asked for a Doberman, and it's kind of a little bit outside of my usual costuming direction, but I've wanted one for a while since I've seen some from other folks, and I've always kind of been intrigued and wanted something like that. But I had a plan for the pony head that I have. I really hadn't specifically, beyond wanting a dog, just kind of wanted one. So it's not based on a character that I have. It doesn't have a name yet, which is uncharacteristic for me. So I mean, it's just, for right now, it's just sort of there. But when the opportunity came up, I asked if he would be willing to do a Doberman for me, and he obliged. I was really nervous about the fit of this head, just because latex, it's less forgiving than other fabrics, and I really didn't know what to do if I had guessed wrong, because I had measured my all the measurements that had been asked for. But it's one of those things that, at least unlike fursuits, where sometimes you can fudge it a little bit, or if need be, you can send it back for alterations. With rubber, well, anyway, it turned out to fit pretty much perfectly. So there's very little extra space in there, but it's perfectly contoured to fit my head. So that was a great relief. But it was interesting. I mean, it gave me a chance to play something different, and I have to thank Atsuki for indulging me, because when I brought it, I don't think anybody had seen it yet, not even Shrag, so it was just kind of a little bit, I don't know why I was a little bit shy. I guess just because it's so outside of my usual repertoire that it just was kind of different. Plus, I mean, not that it's exclusively like a kink thing or anything, because it really isn't, but it's just, I guess it's just because it's so different from what I usually do that I don't think it's anything anybody would see and instantly connect with me, kind of thing, But it was something different, which was one of the things I had fun playing. And among our Thursday, I think it was our Thursday night plans. Or no, Thursday. It was Friday. Yeah, it was Friday, because it was the first main con day, and Atsuki had convinced me to go to the pup play / pet play panel, because he had regretted not going the previous year. So he convinced me to go, and I was kind of glad of it. Not that I wouldn't have done it myself, but it was kind of one of those things where, even though you really want to do it, I needed somebody to kind of push me just a little bit, just for that little extra bit to get me to actually do it. So I went and put on all the gear, and we went to the panel, and the panelist ironically didn't show up. Somebody came in about 15 minutes after the panel was supposed to start and said that they were unable to locate the person who was supposed to be operating the panel. But fortunately, for those in attendance, which was actually a pretty good amount of people, somebody that was there that happened to be involved in the scene just was gracious enough to stand up and run the panel, which, I give them a lot of credit. I don't recall their name, but she was, it's hard to do. I mean, especially even if you have a panel prepared. So for the person that stood up and did the pup play panel at Texas Furry Fiesta completely on random inspiration or whatever, then I have to give you a lot of credit and thank you for doing that. But we stayed for a good long while. After a bit, we went out and wandered around the convention space, took some pictures, got some video, and if we hadn't had to have dinner in a little while, I probably would have left it on, but we had to eat, so eventually I had to take it off and put it all up. But it was a lot of fun. It was definitely different and something I might have to play with at future conventions every now and then. The bodysuit that I had with it really wasn't intended for it, but given the fact that I hadn't really predicted when it was going to be finished, because I guess that's a story for another time, but I didn't really know when it was going to be done. So when it was finished just before TFF, it was kind of random that I even decided to bring it. And it was also something that I did not have time to really prepare a formal bodysuit to go with it, because to tell you the truth, even though I'd known it was coming for a while, I hadn't really had a plan as far as what to do about that. But hopefully by the next con that I take it to, if I take it to a future con, I will have a better plan prepared. But the bodysuit seemed to blend well enough, and it was just a brown bodysuit, so it worked well. Let's see. Oh, and I guess on that same evening, Richard Renard treated us all to pizza. He was generous enough to order some pizza from Domino's for us, so we all got to enjoy a meal together. And later that evening, we were visited by Tarek, who, I was kind of surprised to see on a Friday, because usually he's there on Saturday and spends the whole day with us, sometimes does some fursuiting with us, but this particular weekend it was a little bit different because he had some family obligations I think he had to take care of, so he came by on Friday and spent a little bit of the evening with us. And we got to talk for a little while, not as much time as I would have liked, but of course it never is. But it was good to see him, and it was a nice visit. So he had to leave after a while, and unfortunately that was I hadn't really planned ahead, since normally I have the foresight to message him before the convention, find out when he's going to be there, and usually we lend him our room to store his fursuit stuff and to change into, because he doesn't usually stay at TFF more than a day at most. So but I know how complicated it can be when you don't have a room, so I usually like to offer ours just so that he has a place to get into suit and to leave his stuff and all that kind of stuff. Saturday, I wore Lauren twice, the traditional robes for her first outing, and the second fursuit trip was much more purpose-driven, with Atsuki doubling as Kate. Photos of my suits together are pretty rare, but it was it was a lot of fun. It's kind of one of those things where, at least for me, it's kind of difficult for me to let go and trust other people with my suits, because they're very precious to me. That, and also the second thing is that it's also difficult to find people that even come close to my dimensions, because I'm short. And that being said, a lot of people are either too tall or just the dimensions don't line up right. But Sienna and I generally are pretty close, or at least close enough so that I can, well, I haven't tried, but I think I can wear their suits and they can wear mine, more or less. So every now and then at TFF, I'm lucky enough for him to indulge me, and he'll wear one of my suits and we'll get some pictures and stuff together, which are always appreciated. Sunday, I wore Anna for her only outing because I needed to wear Anna, so I did not really get a chance to do as much as I would have liked to, because we unfortunately had to take our own pictures on Sunday. But that was, that's kind of how it goes sometimes, and it's tricky. But we got some good ones, and most of the con goers were kind enough to indulge us. I always, I did what I usually do, slung the camera around my paw and just kind of held it up in cases where I really wanted a picture, and somebody was usually good enough to indulge us. Chose a slightly different outfit from her usual clothes, just because there's a dress that I kind of default to with Anna. She doesn't usually wear the lab coat too much these days. I'm not sure if it even fits me. I might have to try it on again and make sure. But anyway, I usually dress Anna in casual clothes, and I tend to default to a particular dress that you've probably seen before. It's a black dress that has a white and black jacket sort of thing that goes with it. but I wanted to do something a little bit different, so I changed her outfit a little bit. We got some good pictures together. As for food, we ate at the hotel restaurant a couple of times, mostly just because we really didn't want to have to leave the premises, because getting anywhere in Dallas is a little bit complicated, at least at the current hotel, and there aren't a whole lot of places in walking distance. That, and I think it was also we didn't want to spend a whole lot of time going to and from meals, and generally speaking, especially when we had a larger group, it was just more convenient to eat at the hotel restaurant. But they had some good food there. I think I had let's see, what did I have? Well, I suppose it doesn't matter. I just know it was good food and I liked it. And we ate at the food trucks once. I think I had something from the egg truck, and we've had something at the food lab at least once. And we went to Cindy's for breakfast, because it was one of my plans to go to Cindy's for breakfast, since I think we've done that at least once at every TFF at the current hotel. It's a breakfast place that's across the street from its current location, and usually they're pretty good, they're pretty fast, and they have a wide variety of things you can get in terms of breakfast. And they do breakfast and lunch. It's a kind of like a New York diner slash deli thing that you can get a lot of different options, and most of the time it's pretty good. And as usual, we had our traditional end of con dinner at Genghis Grill, which I think we started doing that, I don't remember how many years ago, but Atsuki had introduced us to it because we had never heard of it before then, or at least I hadn't. And it's a Mongolian grill where you pretty much you pick the size of your bowl, put your proteins in and your vegetables, and then they cook it and bring it to you. And it was a lot of fun. Food's always good there, and we always have a good time. For some reason it took a while to get mine, but it was good stuff. I think I got like chicken and scallops and a few other things, and we had pot stickers as an appetizer, and I couldn't resist getting a dessert, so I got a little lemon berry bar or something, and that was pretty good. Towards the end of Sunday, I took Atsuki out in one of Doitsu's suits for photos. He had unfortunately had to leave the convention early due to personal difficulties, but it was a fun outing, and I was kind of hoping to get into the pup a second chance, but I did not get the opportunity. And by the time we would have been able to, it was kind of dead anyway, and it really was just kind of late. So I'd already packed up most of my stuff by this point, but the pup didn't require much packing. It was just kind of laid out on top. But I guess I want to say thank you to Coco Vixen for being our photographer and generally pleasant company. We definitely appreciated the help. You have no idea how much it's appreciated, and how definitely helpful it is to have a actual photographer. I mean, I'll admit it, I'm vain at conventions. I liked getting lots of pictures of my suits, and it's just much easier when if Shrag and I are not able to take turns, and especially when we need to get pictures of us together, to have somebody that is out of suit that can help us with that, because it's much less stressful than having to go find some random stranger anytime I need something. And it especially makes it a lot easier to get video clips like the ones that you've probably seen in this video. So definitely thank you again, Coco, for helping me a lot with that. And I guess to wrap it up, TFF was good as usual this year. It's one of the cons that I enjoy going to every year we get a chance. And there was a couple of things I might have liked to do, but by and large I have no complaints about this particular iteration of the convention. We had fun. I did a little bit of shopping in the dealer's room, but of course traditionally at furry cons I usually don't buy a whole lot, because I can get a lot of the stuff that I buy at cons at home. But I guess that's it for now. Hopefully next year I will stretch myself out a little bit more, but this year I just was not up for it. But I had a good time, and I think all of us did, and hopefully next year will be even better. So see you at TFF in 2021. Thanks for watching, and if you liked it, click the subscribe button and leave a comment below. You can also find me on Twitter and a few other places on the web, or support me via Patreon or Ko-fi. Zebra hugs!